Aloha, and thank you for joining us. I want to start, let's jump right in before we dig into lasers. I want to use this session as an opportunity to go a bit deeper with lasers. And before we do that, as I do with almost every session, let's all take a moment, take a nice big breath in, and just drop into still point. For folks that are new here today, traditionally, the breathing process in the human body is like a pendulum. It goes up, and then there's a space, and then it goes down, and there's another space, and then down. So most people go through their life breathing, and what we're doing here in the still point process is to leverage, to use the space in between that up and the down. So for folks that are new, again, just take a nice big breath in. As the breath comes out, relax, let go. And then just simply drop into the space in between the breath. And just rest here for a moment. Another way for new folks, take a breath in, and right at the top, just stop at the top. You can use either the top of the breath or the bottom of the breath. And at the very top, just stop. And it feels at first like holding the breath. In fact, in India, they call this the breathless state. The word they use to describe this state is, they say, it's the breathless state. I learned in cranial work many years ago, cranial sacral therapy, which is my background and was my passion. Was very drawn to osteopathy, almost became an osteopath. And to me, I didn't become an osteopath because the cranial folks and osteopaths primarily work with the rhythm, this rhythm that's going in and out. And from my perspective, my passion was more the space in between the rhythm, called still point. So as we're resting here in this space of still point, for me, when I hold this place, it's like holding. So just as you're resting here, it kind of feels like holding the breath. See if you notice when I rest here and I'm holding this space. For me, it kind of feels, the analogy that to me it feels kind of like when you're filling a tire with air and you put the thing on the little nozzle. And if it's too much this way or it's too much this way, the air goes all over. If you get it right in the middle, in that fine place in the middle, the tire fills. The air is transferring into the tire is nice, clean, filling. Well, for me, when I drop into still point, the breath is like going back and forth, and I just kind of grab the breath and I just hold it here. I'm just holding this space of still point. And for me, as I rest here in still point, and I do this throughout my day, I do this like people sleep every night. For me, every hour or two, I take a moment, I push everything of the world outside, and I say, I got to rest here in still point, I got to reboot. So as I'm resting, see if you notice this, as I'm resting here, for me, it feels like this space, what in our seminars we call, I'm calling the still point portal. This is the still point space around the body. And as I'm resting here in this space of still point, for me, I'm feeling this space around the body fill with this neutral energy and essence of the universe. Whether you call it prana or chi or universal energy or spirit, whatever name you want to call it, doesn't matter. To me, it's neutrality. It's the neutral essence. It's the essence that threads together and weaves the stars and the planets and the cells and the elements and the ether that weaves, the threads, every single physical thing in the universe. At a certain point, like right there, my body went into what we call still point response. My body took a sigh. And as soon as I did that, it shifted for me. Now I'm no longer holding still point. Now I'm resting in this space with this with this field we call quantum field, with this subtle body now open. See, this is really what we're talking about here in the still point process, and for folks who are drawn to this work. I can't say this enough. To me, the key is to have a reference. If we have a reference, then we can take action to align with that reference. And the reference is very simple in still point. The reference is you have basically contraction, polarity, what yogis call karma, positive. You have unwinding that karma, unwinding, negative. And you have that contraction, unwinding, dissolving into neutrality. Three key states in the universe: positive, negative, neutrality. And that's not some new thing. I didn't invent that or come up with it. You study any great healing tradition, shamanic tradition, religion, alchemy, mystic, yogic tradition, and they all say the same thing. The Trinity, the three gunas. Every tradition, yin yang, wu wei, positive, negative, neutrality. It's in every system that exists in the universe, because those are the facets of and principles in the universe: positive, negative, neutrality. To me, this is so key to understand, and it's going to be a thread that we weave throughout the rest of today, what we're sharing today. If you understand this, the work then becomes, well, if you have a challenge, an injury, an emotion, some challenge going on in your life, maybe a challenge with what's going on right now psychologically, anything. The key is understanding how to invite that challenge, that contraction, that karma to begin to unwind, and as it unwinds, how to then facilitate it to drop into still point, into neutrality. In my life, that's the model that I use in every situation, no matter what situation I'm dealing with. Oh, challenge? Okay, great. Well, there are challenges. This is not a process that says there are no challenges and we're just going to rest here in nirvana. If we're here on the planet, there's challenges here. We have to participate with that process and, more importantly, be well-versed in the ability to welcome things, dissolve things, and invite them back to their natural state as energy in the universe and beyond. And so as that applies to still point and this upcoming retreat that we're doing, the key is first and foremost understanding what's happening, and more importantly, understanding how to access still point at will, whenever we want, and also understanding how to hold this experience of still point. In my life, in my reality, this body's not my experience. This body's clothing. My experience is the consciousness that resides in this subtle faculty, this subtle space. I call it the quantum field or the still point portal. It doesn't matter what we call it. To me, that's who I am. I'm not the body. The body is the clothing I have at this moment. It's just great. I love it. It's a great moment to be on this planet in this body. Yet, let's not get confused. This body is like scuba gear. We use the body here on planet Earth. It's not who we are. It's our faculty for being here on planet Earth, to navigate, to interact. Well, from my perspective, this new season we're moving into, we've got to get our head on right about that. Because so many people on planet Earth are actually going through life thinking that they're the body. It'd be like going out on a boat and someone puts some scuba gear on you and they throw you over and you go down and they yell out, figure it out when you get down there. And people are scrambling here on this planet without any real understanding and versatility to be able to actually consciously govern and coordinate their faculty to align with their essence, who they are, consciousness, and to do the work of participating in dissolving karma and opening up the expression of consciousness. Understanding, in the body you have positive, you have negative, and you have neutrality in the body. And the key to understanding positive, negative, and neutrality is understanding the cation, anion, and the ormus monoatomic state. Everything you eat and put in your body has an effect on either stimulating things to a cationic state, and the cationic state is basically polarizing, contracting positive ions and making the body hold on to stuff, or understanding what foods to take in to activate the anionic state, which is negative ions, dissolving things, neutralizing things, and ultimately towards finding a balance, which technically is called zeta potential, the flow of electrons in the body. And we're going to cover how to use the laser to set up the body. The key is having your body have a high zeta potential factor. In other words, having steady flow of healthy electrons and ultimately activating higher electron spin so that we activate the Ormus monoatomic state in the body, which to me is really my passion, alchemically and from a yogic activation perspective. So on that note, everyone again, take a nice big breath in. That's a kind of an overview of the still point work. Once again, let's drop in right here into still point. I want to do one simple process and then shift into lasers. We did a process in the session that you all watched this morning. One more. Take a quick look around this still point space. And I want everyone to do this because this is something that we're going to cover up in Vermont, and it's something that I do every day. Envision a long laser saber, kind of like in the movies. You can do this with the actual laser, or you can envision this. And with that laser saber, go around the outside of your space, your still point portal. Go very slow. So many people, according to yogis and healers, are connected through their chakras to their groups and their religions and their friends and their family. Many different healers say people have cords connecting them to their loved ones. Well, when I go and do a retreat or do important still point work, the first thing I want to do, it's like a garden. If you have a garden and your neighbor's weeds are coming in and the raccoons are coming in and everything's coming in, well, you can't take ownership of that space. How do you take ownership of the garden if you got deer and everything coming in there and eating everything up? You have to protect that space with some rocks or a fence or some kind of situation. Well, in the same way, every day we got to go around, I go around and I cut any cords, any blockages, any holes. Go real slow right now as you do this. The key is you want to notice when you take a big sigh, like right there. Great, good. I do this, I cut cords with everyone, family, friends, loved ones, even the people closest in to me. I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm not saying I'm not going to be there. I'm saying I can't do this work of still point if there's incoming emotion and energy. So I'm saying I'm going to be here for you from a place of still point, from neutrality, which is better for them, and it's better for you. People often ask me, well, you know, they don't feel comfortable doing it with their partner or their. I tell you, the people that you're not sure you should do it with, they're the ones you need to do it with the most. Again, I'm not saying I don't. People are going through stuff. It's like a rowboat. You go out in a rowboat. Well, if the rowboat's tied to something, you can't go out into the vast ocean of neutral essence and energy if you're connected up. Go out, get tapped in, then come back and be present. You're going to have a whole lot more to share. All right, very good. Practice this. This is a very simple tool. I just can't say enough about this tool. Many different traditions have another way of doing it. I do it with a laser. To me, I like doing it with a laser. And I envision it going out as far out as your field. Envision it to the outside of your field. Some people have a field, 5, 10 feet. Many have measured and say human field goes out 5, 10 feet. Many yogis, mystics, saints have fields that go out much, much further. So you tune in and see your field. This is yours to cultivate. You can have the perception, the experience of being the body. You can have the expansion here. It's up to you. It's your choice how you want to orient your experience here. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and pass out some lasers. I want to shift gears into lasers. So raise your hand if you're new. I want to dig right into some more advanced laser. We're going to start with a basic Unwind protocol. The same protocol you watched earlier this morning on the table. I want to walk everyone through so everyone has a very simple understanding of how to achieve the same results from that protocol. And by the way, I call it the Unwind protocol. All right, good. We're going to pass out. I may dissolve away in here. So the first protocol that I want to do with the laser is very simple unwind. The other night we did a simple session where we went through how to take the laser and take any area. This is for anyone who has our laser and any emissary. This is the most important first tool you can learn in respect to working with the laser. And the beauty of it is anyone can learn it. Anyone who is capable of using a remote control is highly qualified for this. This is easy. You turn it on, press the star button to turn it on, and then right arrow and simply put it on, unwind, over an area. And what I want you to do as we do this, I want you to take note. Check in for a moment. How does that feel? This is what we're going to do. I'm going to kind of bake this down. When I start digging into the protocols, all I'm checking in, how does this feel? If you're not sure how it feels, you all can tell how something feels. It's what you do when you watch TV. You try one thing. No, that's not right. You go to another. Oh, I feel good. You relax. Take a breath. Put the remote down. Same thing here. Well, Unwind feels pretty good to me. Yet I tried Quantum. It feels a lot, for me, I took a big sigh. This one for me is the right one to use. As we go through some protocols here, we're going to go through Unwind, Quantum, Activate, Unity, Wave. Try a few things and see which one has the effect of giving you that still point response. Okay? That's how we're going to get started here. And on each one, don't give it too long. If you can't tell it's the right one, ask, would you watch this if it was a TV show? And if you can't say, yes, that feels great, I'd watch this, turn it off, pick the next one, and go to the next one. It's that easy. I cannot tell you. I see this again and again. I had I had a fantastic session last night by my daughter. It was an amazing session. And she didn't think or know anything about it. She just turns it on, tries one, tries another. She is phenomenal. This is easy. It's almost easier the less you know. All right, so let's start. We're going to start on the adrenal glands. Adrenals are halfway up the body. I went through this earlier with y'all, so we're going to kind of breeze through here a little bit. We're not going to take too much focus on this, yet suffice it to say that for me every day, if you have our laser, the key, I call this the Unwind protocol, yet really, to be honest with you, this protocol is what, if you have not unwound your adrenals, sacrum, and occipital ridge, then it is very hard to live in still point. People live in a state, if your adrenals are running the show, you live in the personality and in the body. That's what adrenaline does. Adrenaline contracts everything in the body and says, you're the body, you need to protect the body. If there's any danger, we got to be stressed so we can run and be like this. That is the nature of adrenaline, which is great. When you're out in the jungle, or out in the wild, guess what? That's a nice thing to have. Adrenaline will kick in at the right moment. So I'm not coming down on adrenaline. Adrenaline has its place. Problem is, for a lot of people, they're in a chronic state of adrenaline, and from my perspective, all that does is create aging, disease, stress, and personality disorder. That's all that does. So again, for me, every situation I'm on Unwind, I'm right over the adrenal. And as soon as I put it there, my body takes a sigh. It feels really good. Every day, if you're new with our system, every day, 5, 10 minutes, 2, 3, 4 occasions a day, take a moment to unwind the adrenal glands. My passion, my background's in cranial work, yet the reason I didn't become an osteopath is because I'm really much more, I was so drawn. I love the cranial system, yet I was totally drawn to the glands. The glands. And the glands, to me, in the East, they call the glands the sacred points. I was telling our daughter about them yesterday, and she said, well, what do they mean, Dad? I said, they mean special place is what they mean. The gland, sacred place. The glands release compounds. Your glands, in India, they call them the sacred points or the noble points. Why? Because the glands release compounds. If your primary glandular release compound is adrenaline, well, guess what? Then it's like a garden. It's like a flower, which is why many traditions depict the glands as crystals or flowers or lotuses. In some translations, they call them the keys. In the Old Testament, the keys. Why? The seals. The glands release compounds that put us into different states of consciousness. If we live in adrenaline, we live with that consciousness, that state. or that lack of consciousness. So the key is to unwind the adrenals, and the beauty of the glands is they work a lot like, to me, glands are like cats. You know, you don't tell a cat what to do. You kind of go up to it, and if you rub it a little, if it wants to do it, it'll do it. If it doesn't, it won't. Glands work the same way. You can't tell a gland. I've tried lasers, LEDs. I've tried I used to develop LEDs before I made lasers. And I like LEDs. I tried, lots of different other devices, different quantum therapy, tons of things. To me, I was on a quest to develop a technology that was effective at unwinding the cranial system and the glands. When I developed a system, my goal was subtle. That is what our unique experience as a wellness technology is. It's a subtle technology that we do very specific things, which we're going to cover it more. We're going to cover in much more depth in Vermont, a training about our laser, about how it's made, about the quality system of our laser. For example, little things which I don't usually share, like there's 3 wavelengths. Well, we discussed contraction, unwinding, neutrality. Well, our laser, we have all 3 wavelengths. We have a contracting infrared, very stimulating. We have unwinding red, unwinding. We have violet, which is still point, neutral. Little things that go into this that help make it a balanced technology. All of them actually have an unwinding principle. They all kind of play within that because they all have the scalar wave. So again, glands to me, very exciting. Glands to me are one of the key. I just changed to unity. You see, that's finding the right program right there. I just switched to unity, and as I put on unity, my body took a breath. All right, so I think I made the point on the adrenals. So important, particularly if you want to deal with wrinkles or aging. I cannot say this enough. Adrenaline translates in the body to cells aging, having no energy and aging and shutting down. That is what adrenaline translates to in the body. When adrenaline unwinds, I can't say this enough, for anyone that wants to dig in further with our high electron spin diet, and we got some new exciting things coming out in respect to understanding zeta potential and the flow of electrons and how those electrons activate into high spin ether. The key to having electron flow in the body is having your adrenals relaxed. The key to longevity, having your adrenals relaxed. The key to opening up your quantum field, having the adrenals relaxed. The key to not having pain and stress, having the adrenals relaxed. I just cannot say that enough. Glands are a little bit like they work through a principle called entrainment, which is why when women live in a house together, their cycles come together. Well, I spent years trying to figure out a way to unwind the glands. This laser is our many years of research in LEDs, in lasers, in frequencies, in scalar quantum technology, combining a technology that was effective at inviting things, because that's what really you have to do. You have to invite things to dissolve, and things choose. The cranial system chooses. The glands choose. The DNA chooses. Higher dimensional systems choose. Physics of induction. All right, that's the first key place. The second key place we're going to work on. By the way, you can work on your adrenals from the front. The people who are in wheelchairs, who are in hospitals or hospice, if I can't, elderly folks, I'll work right here. Everybody take a moment right now and check in. How does it feel? Whatever you're doing right now, do you feel your body tense, or does it feel like your body... That's the key question that you should be having at various points throughout your day. Do you feel, if you're doing something, do you feel tense? If you're being with a certain friend, are you feeling tense, or are you feeling like this? If you're in a situation that keeps making you feel tense, well, guess what? That's like growing a garden and saying, gee, I'm going to keep growing weeds. I'm going to keep growing weeds. Or saying, you know what, that's a weed, it's trying to eat everything else, got to go. This is the dialogue in every moment that we're having in the still point process. What is our choice? What are we cultivating and manifesting here? All right, second key place to work is I just switched to wave. I often do the sacrum with unwind or wave. All right, so this is the tailbone. This is the sacrum. All right, I'm on the tailbone. The tailbone, to me, is so key. Your spine is like a pendulum. Your spine is like a pendulum. And the tailbone, the sacrum, sacred bone. It's called sacred bone. And it moves, literally, like a pendulum. To me, good health in the body, it requires the sacrum to be moving like this. And if it's not moving like that, particularly anyone with knee injuries, a lot of people come to us and buy our laser with knee injuries. I don't work on their knees. I work on their sacrum, their tailbone area. Why? Because there are big nerve trunks that come out of the sacral area. If the sacrum is tight and compressed, those nerve trunks aren't pumping. Well, if they're not pumping, there's no blood, there's no oxygen. Guess what? Bone on bone. Someone tells me bone on bone, and the problem isn't the bone. The problem is there's no blood. And the way to get blood, unwind the tailbone, sacral area. Why? Because then you get nerve. You see, the body, the cranial rhythm has this. It's called nerve conduction. It's called flexion, extension, flexion, in, out. Like a symphony, it's going in and out. Well, if you sit on your sacrum tailbone all day long, guess what? It stops moving. It stops moving. Well, eventually it stops moving. There's no blood coming down. The spine gets all locked up. The vertebra. Anyone with chronic back challenges, anyone with chronic pain, anyone who doesn't feel like they're on the right planet right now, which a lot of people, anyone with depression, anyone who's having a lot of challenges around finances or around relationship. I just cannot say enough. If you are in the body, and your sacrum is something, every day people should unwind their sacrum. Those folks in the parks in China, in doing Qigong and Tai Chi, the cardinal rule of Qigong and Tai Chi is to have the sacrum and the tailbone relaxed and at ease. Why? Because Taoists say if the sacrum tailbone is relaxed, Qi flows through the body, through the spine. If the sacrum tailbone is locked up and stressed, no Qi through the body, no nerve conduction, telling things, circulating lymph, circulating blood. Having the sacrum locked up is like saying no thank you to gravity. Not a good move. It's like standing in front of a big wave and saying stop. It's ridiculous. You can't have it stop. You've got to relax and go with it. Well, unwinding the sacrum, so many people with chronic health challenges that get our laser, I say go home every day, unwind the adrenals, unwind the tailbone, sacrum. For me, every day I unwind the sacrum. Yesterday I unwound our daughter. We were in a juice bar and there was a little kids area, and Bessie got excited and she was pulling on me to go over there, and I was trying to ascertain with the person behind there if it was organic or not, and so I was trying to figure that out, and she was pulling and her hand slipped, and so she fell back and landed right on her tailbone, right on her sacral area. She was fine. She got up. She was fine. I said, "Come on, we got to unwind." She said, "No, I'm fine." Well, we started driving home, and she said, "Papa, my sacrum hurts." I said, "Okay, no problem." We get home, unwound the sacrum, and she unwound. She's fine now. Easy, unwound. A lot of people have fallen on the tailbone, on the sacrum. It stays locked. I cannot tell you how many people I work on in the sacrum. You start unwinding your sacrum every day, I tell you, you're going to change your life. Why? Because you're going to relax into being here. You relax into being here, and guess what? This space opens up. It's like a hose. You hold the hose here, and everything backs up. You relax, everything opens, flows, opens up here. Easy. I tell you, I sold laser recently to a cranial practitioner, and when she realized how easy it is to unwind things with this technology, this is really a cranial unwinding technology. This is a little more advanced. I don't usually get into this, but that's what it does, among other things. Okay, and again, all cranial unwinding is, and this is the key thing to understand about still point process for practitioners and people that want to be facilitators in it. This is the key thing. So cranial work is about, you have bodies that are like this, and massage and stuff dig into the body. Cranial work is taking the body, finding the rhythm. Again, we talked about contraction, unwinding, neutrality, positive, negative, neutrality. Well, cranial work is unwinding. Well, to me, the reason I didn't pursue osteopathy and cranial work is, to me, you can get lost in the unwinding. The unwinding is only appropriate or necessary until the thing unwinds, at which point it drops into still point. And I learned this from yogis. I learned this in India. I learned this from people. Every great tradition and teacher understands, and they call it different names. The voice, the silence. They call it still point. They call it, they have different names, samadhi, nirvana, the breathless state. For when you reach that state, whoosh, where you're now stable in neutrality. So again, unwinding things is the rhythm, and then we hold the space of still point. All right. By the way, you can also work on the thing we were just working on, the sacrum from the front. From the front. In fact, if you never have, I suggest right below the belly button is the pubic bone. And the pubic bone and the sacrum work hand in hand together. I just can't say enough about the pubic bone. The pubic bone is a powerful gem of a place to work on the human body. Nobody wants to talk about it in the U.S. It's like taboo, you know. No, you can't talk about it. I talk about it because that pubic bone is probably the most repressed area in the human body on planet Earth right now. Everyone thinks it's important to be up here, yet they don't realize that at the bottom of the body is the biggest nerve plexus in the body by far. It's a huge nerve bundle at the base. In many traditions, they call it the tree of life, and this is the root. So you got to make sure that root is relaxed and unwound, or else people have bowel problems, they have constipation, they have urinary tract problems, that's why people get older. This area is in such a state of atrophy that people have all sorts of problems, prostate problems, urinary tract problems. It's so important to unwind the sacrum and the pubic bone. It's like a clamshell. If one side is unwound and the other one's tight, guess what? It's all this stuff, the pelvic floor. We're going to cover this in much greater depth than with the probes at the upcoming Vermont retreat. The pelvic floor in here, and then on top of that you have the colon, you have the elimination system, you have the reproductive system, then the organs stack up. Good health is based on understanding how to invite areas to, if there's stress, if there's tension, cell memory, to shift, to dissolve, contraction, unwind, neutrality. By the way, that's the same principle. The scalar wave, positive, negative, when they come together, neutrality. It's the same thing as the medical symbol. Positive, negative, they come together, staff in the center, neutrality, gland, frontal lobe, right, left brain, right frontal lobe. That symbol is a symbol, positive, negative, neutrality. Scalar, that's what scalar is. That's what still point is. Breath, in, out, neutrality. Everyone take a nice big breath, drop into still point. Third key area, I want to move through this and shift into another protocol here. Third key area is occipital ridge, the occipital ridge, the ridge between the ears. This one's particularly important for a lot of people, particularly anyone dealing with migraines or headaches or eye problems or heart problems. The reason this point is such a good point is that right behind here in the back of the cranium, a nerve comes out. The nerve that comes out right here is called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, it wanders. It's called the wanderer. And the vagus nerve, as it slips out, basically governs the heart. It governs the organs. It governs digestion. It governs breathing, pulses. It governs everything your body does without you thinking about it. And so what happens for a lot of people when they get a lot of adrenaline and stress is the TMJ, studies show the TMJ, and everyone can probably have a reference. When you get very tense, the TMJ can get tight. Well, if it gets tight, guess what it does? It clamps the occipital ridge, and the vagus nerve gets clamped in the occipital ridge. And that shuts down. What are the first places to shut down when people get stressed? The heart, the digestion, the breathing. Vagus nerve shuts things down. So from my perspective, every day, if you're on planet Earth, great opportunity to unwind the occipital ridge. Huge. If you've never done this before, I tell you, these are 3 easy points. Adrenals first, sacrum, tailbone. You can do from the front. Someone elderly, you don't want to go getting all tangled up in the back, right over the front, no problem. Occipital ridge. I'm on activate. I put on activate. It feels great. My body's unwinding. I can tell it feels good because my brain stops. I take a breath. You know, one of the main things we learn at our larger retreats, and we cover a lot, so it really gets set in there, is noticing when the body drops into what we call still point response. To me, that's the key. If you're trying a laser on one thing and you don't feel anything, and then another, one of them, you'll feel this like once again, right there, my body's dissolving, I feel it kind of opening up. It's great. That's exactly what I look for. And that's no different if I'm working on a knee or a shoulder or an organ. I'm looking for the moment when the nervous system goes from this to this. Like the flowers, just like a flower. You know, the flower's like this, it comes up, it has to move through the rocks, then it opens, and like that. The body is the same way. When the body feels supported and neutrality, it opens. All right, those are the 3 key points. I want to touch on 1 or 2 other points that are what I call secondary points to the Unwind protocol. The first one is the sphenoid. This one is huge. This is one of my favorite points in the body. The sphenoid is inside the cranium. It moves kind of like a accordion. It's shaped like a butterfly. It's called the sphenoid. And it moves side to side. It's like a compass needle in the cranium that moves. It's an amazing structure. It's one of the most amazing architectural structures in the human body, called the sphenoid. It's remarkable how it looks. And the amazing thing about the sphenoid is that it rests, it moves free-flowing in the cranium. The pineal and pituitary glands sit on the sphenoid. And they now have found that the sphenoid vibrates, it attunes. So when you get tired, when you sleep in the brain, what they found is that when the brain waves are going right, left brain waves, it shuts down the sphenoid, the pineal and pituitary don't move. They've actually now confirmed that excessive thinking leads to calcification of the pineal gland. In other words, it becomes solid. Well, that's not good. If you go back to what we were discussing about the glands, these are the glands that release things like DMT, dimethyltryptophan, or tryptamine, the same stuff that's in ayahuasca and in many of the plants' hallucinogenics. There's a great book called DMT, the spirit molecule, which someone says when people have near-death experiences, there's a flash of DMT that gets released. Yogis say that when they go into a dark room and they meditate, DMT gets released. They see light. Compounds like PEA, which is another abbreviation for a longer word, that is called the love compound. It's in chocolate. Your pineal gland releases it when you're relaxed. The key to understand here is that this sphenoid is an instrument. If you're thinking, it's not doing anything, it shuts down. When you're relaxed, when you meditate, when you're in still point, when you go to sleep, this is like an instrument that tunes in to the universe and beyond, and these glands start to release compounds that put us into nice ecstatic states of love, peace, happiness, joy, bliss. We have to understand this faculty that we're using if we're going to optimize it. It's like a car. You can't go out in the car and only understand the first gear. You got to understand how to put it in reverse. You got to understand all of the capabilities that the faculty has. Then you can get to the work of driving it around and actually using it effectively. Right now on planet Earth, people are just using thinking. Thinking is just a very basic, brief thing. To me, thinking is like, taking off the emergency brake. Really, and that's the primary directive that's going on for so many people on our planet. And this can be evidenced by any, if you think that sounds out there, well, I defy you. Go look at any religion. Every religion, every native people has a story, religion. Every community is driven by a story of a larger experience where they go into the wilderness. They go and they understand the true nature of this faculty and its possibilities. All right, this is the sphenoid. If you haven't done it, you can see, for me, it's one of my favorite places to use. Next, I want to very gently, everyone drop into still point for a moment. This last thing is something we call scanning. And the key to scanning is first being in still point. I do this often on quantum. And the key is, close your eyes, don't be concerned about anyone else. I know it seems a little bit out there. I do it in public, so if I can do it there, you can do it where you are. My view is people are already thinking about a lot of weird stuff. Let them think about something kind of interesting. And as you move around, really don't focus out there, focus at what's happening here. As you move around, the key is, I'm just scanning around. And I'm just looking at what point, like right here, I put here and my body starts to unwind. You want to look young every day. Make sure your face is nice and relaxed. Close the eyes. Don't stare into the laser. And look for the moment, like right there. I stop my body. You know, to me, this is like going through your garden with some tool. And basically, you find some rock or some twigs, and you dig it up and you get it out of there. When I do this every day, I'm just looking around. Are there any areas today? Are there any situations today that are wanting to unwind? You know, I might have something going on, and I look around. I don't go right to the thing going on. I look around and see what wants, like the rubber band. The rubber band unwinds. It understands what to unwind. I tell you, every day I do this, and the more you practice this, you're going to become really proficient at it. For me, I can do this whole protocol in 2 minutes. 5-10 minutes, depending on the day or where I'm at. If I'm on the road or I've been flying, it might take a little while longer to unwind. You know, the more you do this, it's like a muscle. You know, to be honest with you, I can do this, turn the laser off and drop into still point and do a quick scan around, use perception, go to the adrenals, check in, unwind them. Go to the sacrum, unwind it. Up here, unwind it. Go to the whole space of the unwind. This is what we show you at our larger retreats. How to use this. This is a tool. This is a tool. In fact, to be honest with you, this tool to me is like a kind of like a reflection of this tool. All right, last thing I'm going to do is just go around the outside of the field. I unwound so far the adrenals, the sacrum, the occipital ridge. Those are the main points. Then I did the sphenoid, and then I scanned the entire body. Now I'm just going to unwind facing out. I'm going to unwind the field around, the energy around the body. I tell you, make sure you go behind the body. A lot of people have holes, blockages behind the body. All right, good stuff. That's great. I'm on Unity right now, and it feels great. Let me just qualify real quick, and then we're going to jump into probes. I want to give people a little bit of a more advanced probe training today as a forerunner to some of what we're going to cover at the upcoming Still Point retreat over summer solstice in Vermont. By the way, for folks that do come to Vermont, we're going to be going to our manufacturing facility and touring, so give people a real sense of what happens there. We're also going to do significantly more advanced laser training around the probes and around how to do. When I work on people on the table, I often show people the basic unwind, yet there's a whole lot more that I do. For example, last night when I worked on Essie, after I unwound her, I then dug in with the probes, and I'm going to give you a little taste of some of the more advanced probe work that we do. And that's really going to be a focus. I really want to start to qualify in our Still Point seminar process. There are some different seminars, and all of the Still Points, we have some different varieties. We have Still Point live streams. We have Still Point seminars, 1 or 2 day, more basic introductory Still Points. Many of you have been to them or are at one right now, the Still Point seminar. Then there's the Still Point retreat. And our Still Point retreats have some different flavors. We have activation retreats, which some of you have been to in Cabos. I want to qualify before I jump into probes that this laser is, from my perspective, you want to be careful. You don't want to stare into the laser, and yet our lasers, we decollimate the laser beams. It's fairly eye safe, which is why FDA, Health Canada, CE, and TGA didn't require us to have goggles with it. That said, you don't want to stare in it, but it's very safe. So you don't stare in it, and yet it's not. People often ask, well, could it damage the eyes? The damage comes for eyes when there's very collimated laser beams. Like when you point it at a wall and 20 feet away, it's a point. There's so much energy per squared centimeter that it can be hard. Our lasers, just to give a reference, we're ISO approved. We're ISO 13485. That's it. That's not a U.S. standard. That's an international standard. In fact, in the U.S., FDA doesn't even really recognize it. We did ISO mostly for our international network. because in the U.S. they don't really recognize ISO. ISO 1345 is medical device compliance, and we're going to give people a full overview of what that means. It's fairly extensive. Most lasers that are small companies like ours don't do ISO because it, for a lot of reasons. In any event, we do it. We're also approved by FDA. We're approved by Health Canada. We're approved all of CE. We're approved TGA in some other countries. Our approval as a there's different ways that people use lasers. There's the medical device way, which medical device, we're approved as an over-the-counter medical device. That's rare. Most laser companies are not, they're approved for what's called prescription, which means you need to be a doctor, get a prescription to use it. We're approved as an over-the-counter medical device. Anyone can buy our lasers. That's rare. There's very few lasers that are approved as over-the-counter devices. I mean, we put years into getting clearance as an over-the-counter device because really no one had done it before us. There was 1 or 2 companies that had done it. So we helped pave new way, and it's why our company is growing and selling lasers to lots and lots of lay people. That's one of the first key reasons. The second area our clearance, by the way, is for pain relief, inflammation, circulation, arthritis or arthritic pain in Canada, and relaxation of tissue. That's our approved medical device clearance. We're also our laser is also used extensively by veterinary folks, equine, animals, dog, cat lovers. In the equine and animal veterinary circles, you don't need medical device approval. Those regulatory bodies don't do anything involved with animals. Cosmetic also in most countries is a voluntary process. Cosmetic, anti-aging, longevity, not a medical process. And then finally is what I call yoga and energy and how we use for still point. And that's really the scalar energy that's being used to help things to unwind, dissolve, and allow energy to flow. Everyone take a moment, drop into still point. You know, this is a muscle. If, you know, me sharing it with you once, that's great. You want to use this muscle? It's like math. You know, you look at math, you learn that this and this equals this. Well, that's great. Well, you don't really hone that up until you spend years practicing it. Well, still point's similar. You got to practice this. That's why in our seminars, in our live streams, I consistently say, okay, everyone, drop in. We do that at our larger retreats too. After the end of the first day, I don't really need to say it anymore because the space, we're all resting in that space. All right. If anyone has probes, go ahead and take the probes out. I want to do a little bit of training, as we discussed earlier. Let me just finish before we jump into probes to say that, you know, part of what makes our laser system really unique. A lot of laser companies at this price point. Our price point is, in the laser world, it's not inexpensive yet. In the laser world, we're routinely next to companies 15, 18, 25, 40, 45,000 up higher. And those lasers usually have one capability. Very rare to find a laser that has red, infrared, and violet lasers. Very rare. And very rare to have lasers that have 5 milliwatt lasers and also 100 milliwatt lasers. So for the price, you get a ton of laser with our system. And I want to really qualify this because it's so vital and important to understand that this laser system, for the price that you're getting, you can do a lot with it. There is a lot of different kind of ways in which you can use this laser system. And it's one of the unique selling features for emissaries to understand is that we have 3 wavelengths, we have a ton of different programmability, we have the scalar wave technology, all as an over-the-counter device and for a price that comparative is really quite viable. Especially if you consider it's like a cup of coffee a day. That's really what we're talking about here. And with our financing programs, we'll finance, you know, we'll come up with a creative finance program and help folks, even if you don't have great credit. You know, we're not like banks. As I often say, we are just scan the aura. If you have a good situation, we'll let you in. If you don't, we'll use the laser for a moment until it opens up and is nice and relaxed. All right, so using the laser specifically on areas, the red laser, as I often say, is good for skin, muscle, nerve. And to give you just a little bit of a reference before I show you a couple of things of how we use the laser. The infrared, by the way, goes deeper for bone, tendon, cartilage, and disc. And the violet works on subtle, nonlinear, neutral things like chakras, meridians, emotions, lymph, white matter in the brain, DNA, high-spin electrons and enzymes. That's the violet. So again, red, infrared, and violet. Surface, deeper, subtle. Positive, negative, neutrality. So when I'm using a probe, there are 3 or 4 different ways that I might use the probe directly on the body. If you don't have a probe right now, it just kind of dawned on me that some of you might not have the probe. If you don't have the probe right now, use your laser. As I'm doing this, use the head of the laser in the same way that I'm showing you how to use the probes. You'll see there's 3 or 4 different ways that I'm going to show you how I use probes. All right, the first way that I often show people is directly on the body. So literally moving the laser around directly on the body. And this is a great way. This is just basically inviting energy. You can see all the cells in that area light up the color red. The second key way that I use the probes a lot is to dig in a bit. I often will dig in. In fact, this is going to be a big part of what we show in Vermont, and this is what I did last night with Essie. Essie was laying down, and I went all over. There are some key areas that I do this on when I'm doing table work, all along the spine. For me, I like to work all along the spine, making sure each vertebra, and to do that, I'll dig in a little bit at each point, and I'm looking specifically for what I call neuro release points. That is, that's not a name used anywhere else. I kind of started using that name years ago. To me, the body, a lot of people's bodies have pent up neuro energy in the body. They're holding on to stuff. And you can tell that if you dig into an area, on someone, and there's like a little tender there, that's, to me, some built up neuro energy pressure. And so my goal, if someone's got a lot of points that are very tender, and all it tells me is they're holding on to a lot of compression. And so my goal in that kind of situation is, how can I work to help dissolve and release some of that compression? And that's the goal when I'm doing point work with the probes. So again, from my perspective, when I'm digging into different points, I'm going in a little bit and I'm looking for where the tender is, and then I'm just holding that point until it relaxes and dissolves. So again, so far we had just moving the laser at certain points. Now we're referring to digging in. Now when I do the deeper work of digging in to different areas, I'm looking a lot of the points, and I'm going to go through extensively what points I do. I work on points that are traditionally between different bony structures. I do a lot of work in key points that have a lot of fascial, I call them fascial entry points, where your myofascia, the fascia around the body, is like it's like a rubber band. And for a lot of people, it's like this. Well, I want to release that process, and to me, the best points to do that are areas like over the wrists. The hand and the arm come together. There's tons of great pressure points here. So if you're doing this right now, dig in a little bit and see if you notice. I work the points on the hand. We have so many reflexologists that use our laser right on the edge of the hand. Right there, tender point. It's a tender. So I'm just going to dig into it. I'm not digging into it hard. I'm not digging into it as though I want to press it and say, you ought to feel pain. I'm going in until it's tender. And I just hold that tenderness until it starts to dissolve and unwind. And then another, like right up there against the edge of the bony area right there. By the way, you don't need to be some expert at this. You don't need to know all the points. I did this last night, and then Essie asked me if I'd show her how to do the point work. And so I started showing her, and I tell you, I then laid down, and she did a session on me along the spine, up and around the neck. She completely unwound, digging in using this protocol. Easy. I tell you, if me and Essie can do it, if we can do it, anybody can do it. All around the sacrum. And there's a very specific thing that I do that I don't want to get into it too much today, yet when I dig in, I kind of dig in a certain way, and then I just hold it until it releases. Another thing that I do with the laser often over certain areas, I'll just kind of tap it. I'll tap so the bone, it kind of has an acoustic effect with the bone, with the soft tissue. And then another thing that I often do with the probe is off the body work. Which works great on the chakras. Ankles. Ankles are a profound place to work. These are all things when I used to do body work, I'd find points in the ankles and release them. Points in the calf, release them. Around the hips, along the sides of the body. There's so many entrances. It's kind of like where two things come together. It's like where there's two plates on the earth that come together, and there's often pressure, and that pressure has volcanoes, often along where there are different continents coming together, different plates coming together. Well, I find the body's the same way. The different cranial plates, different areas in the face, like right here. There's some great points right here. I'm going to go through overview all of the key points that I typically like to do a lot of in our more advanced still point, not practitioner training, still point facilitator is what I meant to say. Still point facilitator, how to support. And again, why are these points important? Because if your fascia is really tight and compressed, if your myofascia is all tight and compressed, it's very hard. The fascia will keep pulling the bones like this and into this zone. If you find these areas and clear them, release them, dissolve them, it's really nice. Everyone go ahead and drop in the still point again. I'm going to hold. I hadn't factored in that we have a lot of new folks there, and so I don't want to dig too much in on probes because I want to give you some protocols. I want everyone there to feel confident, comfortable by day's end here today that you can use the main unit laser. Let's do a protocol for, I was going to do something else. Let's do a protocol for the chakras. The chakras. Really, really good right now to be doing the chakras. I'm starting at the base chakra. And you don't need to be a yogi or a guru or whatever to do this. This is really easy. Just start at the base, at the root of the body. Pick a program. I often do quantum or wave or unity or cohere. Start at the bottom, the base, the root of the chakra. You know, these are so important to keep open right now. Right now we're going through a lot of changes on this planet. And the changes that are happening in these structures in the body. And so a lot of people have programs running in their chakras from the last age, the last season. And from my perspective, if you're running programs from the last season, well, guess what? You're going to get more of that season. More emotions, more thinking, more personality. And to me, I'm not drawn to that. I'm not looking for that. To me, I'm looking for the new experience of this new season. And so I'm starting on quantum. I'm starting at the base. And as I do this, I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm probably 10, 15 inches off the body, and I'm starting at the base. You can go underneath. If you're laying down, you can do it that way. For me, the way I do it is I kind of go around a little bit until I feel it kind of, like right there. I went around a little bit, and then it just kind of opened up. You make sure you're on the right program. Try quantum, try wave, try activate until you experience that effect. As soon as I feel my body start to go in, drop in to still point, I'm now moving the laser out away from the body. I'm kind of taking that experience and opening it into the quantum field. I'm not opening the chakra. Let me be really clear about this. My approach to doing this, the approach that I take to doing this, is not chakra work in the traditional sense. What I'm doing is it's kind of like on your computer when you hit an icon, you hit it and it starts going like this, and then it fills in, it fills the whole screen. From my perspective, I'm accessing the chakra first, the icon, which is all it is. You know, your chakra is a program. And I'm not suggesting, I don't like to live in any of these chakra programs, to be honest. I prefer to live in the one chakra, the chakra one, the one. It's like white light. You know, white light comes through a prism and then you get a number of different colors. Well, guess what? It's the same thing here. You have a number of different chakras, and that's the linear part. The nonlinear part, to me, is the quantum field. So again, what I'm doing is I'm active. I'm checking in with that icon, the chakra, and then as it drops in, I'm opening it until it opens and drops into the quantum field. And to me, that's integrated. That's good. Now that chakra is not going to be acting independently on its own. You see, light, when it goes through a prism, it only stays on this side when there's a fixation. When everything opens and works together, whoosh, it shifts back to the white light. Now I'm at the second chakra, right below the belly button, in front of the pubic bone. And as soon as I kind of pulled to a certain place, and as soon as I did, I dropped into still point. It was like, ah, yes. And now I'm just unwinding it a little bit more. You can do it from the back. Whew, that feels good from the back. Notice when your body shifts and you drop in. That feels good. And then pull it back until it opens into quantum field. All right, that's good. Now third one, third chakra. This is a huge one right now on our planet. So many people on our planet are caught up in this chakra here. You know, energy flows through the chakras from each one to the next to the next. And a lot of people have programs running here in the third chakra that prevent the energy from ever getting up here to the heart. This is the key one that our people are dealing with right now on our planet. If we can get this one collectively, we got some good things ahead of us. And that's not really an if, that is a as. The key, you know, a lot of people, this is like in this center, when the energy starts to come together and unify and go to the heart, people often have objections in this center. Things like judgment or cynicism. It's like that game, you know, that game, the thing pops up and it knocks it down. Pops up, knocks it down. Well, that's what happens in this center. The energy starts coming up and going to the heart, to the love, to the peace, and boom, an objection, cynicism. This is nonsense, judgment. I tell people in our seminars, if it's coming up today, I guarantee you it's coming up every other day in your life. So for today, just for the heck of it, just say if it's coming up, welcome. Thank you. All right, that's the third chakra, nice, open. I went down to wave, and now I'm on the fourth chakra. I'm on wave now. I open up this one. This one's already nice and open. Nice open, opens up right into the quantum field. Energy comes up to the fifth chakra. By the way, you want to balance the 5 elements in life. You know, every tradition, the Taoists, the folks in India, the native folks, they all say 4 or 5 key elements. To me, 5 key elements. You got earth, first chakra, water, second chakra, fire, third chakra, air, fourth chakra, ether, fifth chakra. You want to balance your elements every day. Make sure these centers are relaxed and open and at ease. When these are all open and at ease, this one is so important. Ether, you want to strengthen your lymph system, make sure your ether is open. This is your ether center. All right, good, that's good. All right, now as these 5 are open, we go to the 6th chakra center. To me, this is perception. And when these are balanced and open, when all these yogis, mystics say when these are all balanced and open, that they open, that when these are all open, this opens. They say that this candle of perception doesn't open until the house is in order. In other words, if these are all over the place, this one doesn't open. If these are in order, then this opens and opens up to the essence, the light, the nectar, the ambrosia, that opens. Right here, my body dropped in. I'm just opening it. I'm on cohere. I switch to cohere until it opens. Any one of them works. You can do with quantum. You can do with activate. You can do with unity. You see which one works good for you until this opens up into the quantum field. And last, we come up to the crown. And again, you'll see when I go up to an area, and I do this with organs too. I do this with injuries. I'll just go up and I start going around. Doesn't matter what. To me, this is like a computer. And just like the computer, you got different programs. You got your operating system. Operating system of the last age, thinking. Operating system of the new season, to me, is this space. Nonlinear operating system. Well, any program, an organ, a chakra, anything can be a program. Well, I go up to it, I invite it to unwind. It unwinds, dissolves, opens up, and into the quantum field. This is, many yogis say, this is where sound. This is, to me, when this opens up, this crown, to me, it's like the whole quantum field just opens, and then I just simply now, I'm just going to work again around the quantum field. Often I go above the body, below the body. All right, good. All right, we're going to do one more quick protocol. I'm feeling one more protocol. Let's do one more detox protocol. Real quick cleansing detox protocol. Now that we're all nice and opened up. By the way, when I'm done with the protocol, I often put the laser down and I take a moment. I like to, right now I'm completely dissolved right here. I'm in still point. So use that. Don't do a protocol. The goal of the protocol, from my perspective, I'm working on the things, the injuries or the chakras or the organs. I'm working on those things. Yet, at the end of the session, to me, the goal is to be dissolved in neutrality. See, I'm just using those things as opportunities. Okay, I'm using those things as opportunities. And this is what so many yogis and great teachers say, that when you have a challenge, the blessing is inside of it. So I have some challenge, some situation. I say, okay, this challenge, I got to slow down, I got to stop, unwind, dissolve, and guess what? It brings me here. Now we start to look at the challenges. They're blessings because they're telling us to slow down and get real. And I tell you, the harder the challenge, it's more painful, and more often people avert and divert and try not to look at that. Those are the ones that really, really bring you to that place. And that's not coming from me. And that's not something, anyone who, you can't share that unless you've been through some tough stuff. Okay, I don't share that saying, oh, hey, I say it as, we've been through tough stuff, and you go to that edge, and you stay open. That's the problem with tough stuff. When tough stuff happens, people often say, "Too stuff. We're gonna shut and avoid and not deal with it," and then they get that residue. The universe keeps bringing it back to them because they didn't process that tough thing that happened. And to me, the beauty and the blessing and the reason that I share the laser and the still point process is, to me, there are tough things happening on our planet right now. Almost every day I hear of someone in our network or friend or someone who got a new diagnosis, a new major life change, someone departed. Almost every day things are coming to us in that kind of way. Our planet is cooking up right now. There's a lot of stuff going on, economics, EMFs, cell phone towers, earth changes, global warming, chemtrails, you name it, there's stuff going on. And which is natural. At the end of an age, every age, according to every tradition, it ends with a flood. Well, why is that? That's an allegory. That's a reference. In India, they call it pralaya, dissolution. A flood is new energy coming into a new season. And what does it do? That spirit, that neutrality, floods and dissolves all of the old structures from the last age, so we can open up to a new expression, a new experience. That's what this work is all about. It's about welcoming the things from the old season, saying, great, and many of us are here now for this new season. We came in here and we were like, what the heck is all this stuff going on this planet? Did we pick the right planet? Is this the right place? And we had to embrace and welcome and own the things that were going on here. And now we're at that point where we can say we have the resources, they're here, new energy coming in, we say welcome, aloha, and we allow the new essence and expression to dissolve, to clear, purify, and open up this new amazing and wonderful reality that's emerging here. So again, back to what I was saying, use this as an opportunity every day. Find a couple things, welcome it, dissolve it, and come back here. Y'all are doing great. And people on planet Earth, I always tell people, as people in the Still Point community who want to share this, doing sessions and other things, the key is rest here. If you're working with someone and you want to share, make sure you're here. If you're not here, you have no business sharing anything about Still Point. Make sure you're here. This is where it starts. right here. And when you're here, the key is everyone is doing great. If anyone's on planet Earth, I don't care. It's hard being on planet Earth, particularly in the last age. This has been a rough place. So the key is you be here, and then when you greet people, you work with people, be clear from neutrality. It's tough, and we're here to help people with tools and empowerment, resources to empower them to dissolve and clear karma. It is our capacity, it's our birthright as human beings to be able to clear physical, emotional, astral, psychic, causal karma. We can do it. All right, one last protocol. I want to do one last cleanse protocol. One more protocol. This is a detox cleansing protocol. We have so many famous colon hydrotherapists in our network. We were just in Maui, where some of our dear friends in Maui who run a wellness clinic and a very unique colon hydrotherapy approach, and just phenomenal. And so I want to give a quick reference on how to effectively release and clear the colon. And the most important thing, by the way, which I don't want to cover right now because we already did, is making sure your adrenals and the sacrum and the occipital ridge are relaxed. If those areas are all tight, then the body is going to hold stuff. If the adrenals, sacrum, occipital ridge are relaxed, the body's not going to hold stuff. It's going to naturally allow things to move out. So for folks that want to do this, I do this at least once a week. First place I'm going to work is the gallbladder. First place is the gallbladder. I tell you, we have a lot, the colon hydrotherapy movement is one of the bigger movements of folks getting involved with our lasers. They're not getting involved with other lasers that much because other lasers stimulate stuff. Our laser has a very soothing and relaxing. We had some folks present at a big colon hydrotherapy conference because they use the laser while they're doing colon hydrotherapy, and it relaxes and unwinds and softens and allows things to move. First place, I'm on quantum right now, is the gallbladder. This is the gallbladder. There's some amazing people using the laser, doing phenomenal work helping people. And we're so grateful and appreciative to the folks in our community who are sharing this and helping people, empowering people. All right, the gallbladder is where I like to start. A lot of people have backed up gallbladder. If the gallbladder is backed up, I tell you, that'll shut down the flow of electrons faster than anything on the planet in the body. And of course, what shuts down the gallbladder? The kind of foods people eat, the carbohydrates, the processed foods, processed oils and cooked oils that do nothing for the body except shut it down. I tell you, you want to cap off electrons in your body, eat a lot of fried foods and oils that are cooked. The only oil you should eat that's cooked at all, well, there's a couple oils. Coconut oil's all right, olive oil works okay, grapeseed oil works okay, avocado, kernel oil works all right. Those are the oils that don't change their molecular structure that much. Coconut oil doesn't change at all. The other ones a little bit, but they're still fine. Don't use the other oils that are commonly used in fast food and restaurants. They're cheap. Canola, all that stuff changes its molecular structure. It shuts down the whatever this is I'm working on, the gallbladder, and it literally caps your body from flow of electrons. You want to dissolve that, get your adrenals unwound, and start working directly over the gallbladder. Get your gallbladder nice. I know for me, when I travel, immediately, hotels, I don't eat the same kind of fresh organic foods. There's no negative ions. There's chlorine, there's bleach, there's sprays in the room, windows don't open. My gallbladder immediately pops up. I tell you, this is like the cap in the bottom of the bathtub, the gallbladder. You cap that thing up, and your body is going to go like this. It's going to build up. It's going to build up plaque. It's going to build up cholesterol. It's going to build up positive ions. It's going to not have a good flow. It's contraction. You want to unwind that and get it moving in the other direction? Got to unwind. Unwind this area. It unwinds. I'm still doing this, by the way. I'm on quantum, and as I'm doing it, I'm like, I can tell I'm still unwinding because I'm feeling this. My body is feeling like this. It feels like it's going like this. It's going like this. So I'm going to keep doing this until my body drops into neutrality, which actually just happened as I said it. Maybe that was a placebo effect. Who cares? If it was, that's fine with me. As long as I drop in, I don't care what effect it was. All right, that is the gallbladder. That's the gallbladder. All right, next place I'm going to is the appendix. And I'm going low. I'm, low on the right side of the colon. Low on the right side is the appendix. I tell you, a lot of people have appendix challenges. This is another plug. This is like another plug in the body. The appendix, for a lot of people, particularly folks that eat meat. If you eat a lot of meat, the appendix doesn't process meat that much, and that's why a lot of people have appendicitis. Meat inflames the appendix, can inflame the appendix. In America, there's studies, they say like 70% of people in America at some point have lower abdominal pain. And often they don't tell anyone. They don't tell their friends, their family, their doctors. I tell you, our approach is not, when you have a challenge, it's not to live with it. It's to say, well, okay, what do we do? We try Unwind. I just went to Vital, which to me, Vital is designed to activate intercellular ozone, O3, Aron, O4. Ozone's O3, Aron's O4 up to like O20 and higher states of oxygen. Well, we do some stuff inside of Vital to activate that ozone, tetraozone, Aron, that high spin electron state of oxygen, nonlinear state of oxygen. It's a great one for working on lymph. And now, that just feels great. I just started doing it over my appendix. You can tell you're unwinding when the brain goes nonlinear. All right, now I'm going to make my way up the appendix. Again, this is the ascending. The right side is the ascending. It starts, it ascends. And you don't even need to know the names. Don't get confused with the names. The names are what often prevent people from doing it because they don't think they're good enough or capable. Forget the names. Although it's ascending if you want to have the name. So when I'm going through this, I'm literally going in little circles like this. Like I said before, there are different ways I use the laser. There's on the surface. I could dig in with it a little bit. I can go in circles. I can go off the body a little bit. So as I'm working, I'm constantly trying, well, in this situation, does this feel good? Oh, it feels good. If it feels good, I'm keeping going with it. Now we come up to the transverse, where we get up here to the top. And now I'm just going to work my way across. Right there, I put it here, and as I put it here, my body took a sigh. And then here to the left side, now we're going descending. Vital's a good one if you want to do some cleansing and oxygenate and get the lymph moving in there. It's a good one. All right, good, good, good. Now I'm coming in here into the internal intestines and stomach. It's a little bit higher up on the left side in here, stomach. If you go home and you're not sure, don't not do this because you're not sure where any of this is. Just go home and go like this. All this stuff is in here. I often tell people, if you're not sure when you go home, don't not do it. Just pretend. It's all in here. We're doing everything in here. Really, I mean that. A lot of people don't do the protocols because they think they're not good enough. These are your organs. You grow these every single day. You're doing a great job of it. You've earned some latitude. All right? You can go home, pretend. Get on our conference call every week. We do a conference call, a live stream. I go over this stuff every week. Now I'm going in the middle here. In fact, this is the easy way to do it. Just go around here like this, real slow. Don't get psyched out that it's a medical device and you need to know your anatomy. Baloney. You don't need to know anything. There's only so many points in here. You can't really mess up. Look, I just covered all the points in the body, all the protocols. I just did them. Really, have fun. This is about being empowered to not have to wait for some expert or for me or for some chiropractor. This is about every day having tool to be able to take and invite things to unwind and dissolve and get back here. To me, that's health. To me, health, in other words, it's not the laser that fixes, cures, and heals. It's not me that fixes, cures, and heals. Every one of you has a body that's designed to regenerate and is very good at regenerating, or you would not be here. In fact, the only thing your cells and body do ever are to replicate and regenerate cells. Get clear on this. Our work is to make sure things are unwound, relaxed, and have energy so they can get to work at doing what they do naturally, which is to build, regenerate, and grow cells. All right, now I'm just going up here on the upper area of the GI tract. Really good for anyone with hiatal hernia, GI colitis, Crohn's, irritable bowel, and just find the right program. Find the right program that feels like it's, I just went back to Unwind. And as soon as I did, I felt my body kind of, again, down here, and then up here. It feels great. Feels great. Anyone dealing with, make sure the occipital ridge is nice and relaxed. Make sure the sphenoids are nice and relaxed. If these things are all relaxed and at ease, I tell you, your body is not going to hold stuff. All right, last protocol. Let's gently invite. So that was another protocol right there. That was a cleansing and detox purification protocol. Gallbladder, appendix, colon, intestine, stomach, and GI tract. All right, easy one. If you go home, you don't need all those names. Everything between down here where it comes out and up here where it goes in. Okay, and any motion you want to do therein will work just fine. Key is find the program that's giving you the sense that, hey, this feels good. Last protocol I want to do right now is, and I'm on activate, is starting at the base, and I'm just going to allow energy flow up along the spine. Energy up along the spine. Up here, when I come up here, I often do a little lotus. I call this the lotus protocol. I'm just moving energy up the spine. Energy, they call this the tree of life, or the staff of life, or the bridge of light. A medical symbol. This is about activating this central column of energy along the spine, which opens the glands in the brain. We call ambrosia process. And then up here. And then I'm going to finish up with one last thing called still point protocol, which is right over the thymus. Often I do this on quantum or activate. I'm just going to do this. And thymus gland, we discussed the adrenals before. A lot of people live right now posited in the adrenals. I tell everyone, start every session unwinding the adrenals and finish with the thymus. Why? When the thymus, this is the key still point. If your thymus, if you shift your life from your adrenals running your show to your thymus running the show, you're going to change from being driven by thoughts and emotions and personality and body to being driven by the quantum field. I tell you, this is like a vehicle. If you press the gear of the adrenals, you're going to get body, contraction, emotions, thinking. You shift that gear. Still point is a gear shifting technology. We drop into still point, whoosh, slip that thing right into the thymus gland. You slip it into the thymus gland, guess what? Now, you're not personality, you're the quantum field. Now, you're sending the signals for lymph, for longevity, for bliss, peace, love, happiness. When a good set, again, studies show the thymus gland activates white blood cells, stem cells, lymph, all sorts of important autoimmune and consciousness compounds. So you feel like you're coming down with something, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling like you were up all night, no worries, just open up the thymus. I do this, I can't say enough how powerful this is. This is, you shift into the thymus, quantum field opens up. One or two other simple points that I do. Main point for still point is right here, thymus. Secondary point for still point, tip of the nose. One of my favorite points, it's a weight loss point, and my favorite because it activates the pineal pituitary glands. Opens up the energy along the spine, the nadis, the positive, negative nadis along the spine. Central current, it opens the lung meridian, the heart meridian. This is one of the most powerful places on the body, tip of the nose. And lastly, frontal lobe and top of head. And one last point in the back, behind the cervicals. There's a point that a lot of yogis and healing systems call the Alta chakra. There's a gland along the spine called the carotid gland. My view is this, when you open this point, it helps put you into the breathless state, into still point. At least for me, that's what happens and just happened. All right.